Hi, this is Alice Yee, and these are my answers to the questions that are provided. So, first of all, for number one, what are your academic, professional, and/or personal experiences that you think are relevant enough to be shared with participants to inspire them? Please tell us about it or them. So, I think the most relevant experience that I've had in regards to this program was when I was a youth leader in the church youth summer program for my church, the LDS church. So as a youth leader, I was teamed up with another youth leader, and our job was to lead a small group of youth, and we were all around the same age, around like teens, basically, and and so basically, our part of our job was to lead the group to all these different activities and lessons, and we would also lead them in smaller discussions of our own, related to what we learned throughout the day and also at night, and and also just help them feel in general, just help them feel like welcome and comfortable while at camp as well. And this became especially important because I remember there was one person who felt like he didn't really belong and that he didn't really want to be there. And I tried my best to help him feel more included and comfortable, and that we were listening to him, and that he felt like he could fit right in, and still be himself. So seeing this mentor position really reminded me of that. And in terms of having experience with international students, um, I have at least worked alongside them in high school and college. And I remember there was a Harvard summer school class I took some years ago, and it was in advanced essay writing. And some of the students there were international students, although we were all pretty much in the young adult or adult range. But still, it was interesting to hear them talk about their experiences and express their thoughts about things that were often related to their experiences as being from abroad in the essays that we all wrote. So I thought it was interesting how we could have all these different personal conversations with each other with no judgment, and I thought it helped to bring us closer together, and even in this interesting mixed context. So number two, have you worked with children/youth before? If so, what was your job/responsibility? Tell us about it or them. So, like I mentioned, with my church's youth summer program, I have worked with my fellow with who were my fellow teens at the time, and I've also worked with kids who are even younger than that as well, especially in terms of babysitting. In this, I mostly was babysitting within my church community, but also with a few others in the neighborhood, and especially my niece, who's about who's about 6 now, and basically in my babysitting jobs, I'd be asked to keep watch over them and entertain them and play with them until the parents got back, and sometimes I would also help make sure they get to bed on time if it was that late, and basically and just normal babysitting stuff like that. And especially with my niece, I spent a lot of time with her, and I got to know like what she likes and how to deal with her whenever she's having attitude problems or she's upset about something. Especially when she's been learning the piano, I've helped to sort of guide her in getting through what she needed to practice, even though she often had problems with not doing something just right or perfect, and that it was hard. I reminded her that it was hard for me too, and so I help her like take things one step at a time. All right, number 3. Do you consider yourself a leader? Do you think that you'd be able to lead a group of teens and motivate them to learn? So even though I don't always define myself as like a leader type. My previous experiences I have explained has shown that I am capable of leading a group of teens and as a leader and motivator, and so I feel that being a mentor in this program would be an appropriate fit based on my previous experience. Number 4, our students dream to be in an academic environment like your school, Harvard, and MIT. What do you think our students should know about these schools? So I think everybody knows that these schools, Harvard and MIT, but also my school, Vanderbilt University, are all known for having pretty high academic standards, and this can be stressful for a lot of people, but at the same time, these schools do provide many opportunities for learning about many different subjects and obtaining careers here in the U.S. as well as internationally in many sort of trips and as well there are several resources these days for being able to lead not just a successful life, but a balanced one, especially since mental health has been a bigger issue recently, and especially with all these high academic standards that I just mentioned, and this can be and these all these resources can be tailored to the person, however they think their life should go, and what sort of path they would like to take in life. It doesn't all have to be the same thing, and also sort of related to those resources for a balanced life. There's also been a growing open and inclusive social and political environment for all students, and it's one that in where they can communicate their views freely and without the risk of a lot of judgment or people attacking them. They can meet with others and that also share the same view, and they can find a place for support as well as expressive freedom. So that's another facet of how they can find more opportunities for just being themselves in these colleges and universities, and many opportunities for putting their visions in action. Number 5, in your opinion, what are the most interesting things that your school has that the other schools don't have? Please explain it. So in the case of Vanderbilt University, it has gained a reputation of being the college or university with the happiest students in the nation, and of course it depends on the individual, but I think in general that sort of environment of happy students is true in most cases, and I think this comes down to several factors, such as, like I said, there's in a lot of universities, there's more of an open and inclusive environment where people can find others who share their views, and they're free to they're basically free to be themselves and express themselves however they want, within reason, of course, and in addition, Vanderbilt University is part of Nashville in Tennessee, and that city is famous throughout the U.S. for its music and especially country music. But in general there's a pretty big music scene here or there, and also it's southern themed food. Lots of hearty, tasty meals in a bunch of local restaurants there that are basically within walking distance from campus. And just lots of different cultural activities that anyone can see and participate in, and it really helps people to kind of explore even more opportunities than even what sometimes college can offer them. And so I think all the above factors that I mentioned have contributed to a happier environment for many students in my college. And number 6, most of our students don't speak English fluently and are traveling for the first time without their parents. What are the ways that you, as a mentor, can help them feel welcome and have a great learning experience while they are here in the U.S.? Basically, I would just help them make sure that I'm always there for them to explain anything that they have trouble understanding, and if they're trying to get through something, I would try to help them in whatever they need to do, and at their own comfortable pace. And I want to say that I do have my parents originally were coming into the U.S. to study and live from South Korea when they were relatively young, like in their 20s, and it's pretty clear from what I've learned from their experiences how pretty isolating and scary it can be, especially when you don't have anyone else there to help you. So it get so and also like I mentioned, I have worked and even lived alongside a bunch of international students, ranging from a lot of different locations around the world. So I do have some understanding of at least of what kind of experience. What kind of an intimidating experience it can be as an international student here in the U.S. So I want to at least to provide them with some kind of dependable anchor, so that they feel like they have someone to turn to in this unfamiliar place. Number 7, please tell us about your field of study or major. So I am a biological sciences major, and as part of my studies, I learn about all the different levels that come within biology, and this can range all the way from the level of whole ecosystems, organisms working together and living together, and then all the way down to all the various chemicals and processes that run life itself, basically. And some of the subjects that are included in this field include things such as genetics, evolution, zoology, and organic chemistry. So it's a lot of stuff to take in, but through all my lecture and lab courses I have to take, I've been able to observe and apply all the different concepts I've been learning through many experiments and with a lot of actual organisms as specimens to study, so I can see all these different concepts in action. And of course, a lot of what I'm learning doesn't just apply to these other organisms, but also humans as well. So it's been interesting to see all the possibilities for improving our lives based on what we know about ourselves, as well as our connections to all the life around us, and also due to all these different factors that have to come into play while studying biology. This I feel like my major has also taught me a lot of important skills that would be important in other facets or subjects of life, such as precision and thoroughness and good communication, and basically I feel like that even though this major does have a lot to take in, it has been very useful and even fun for me to learn about. I've always had I've always had a certain interest in learning about how life works in terms of the physical world, and so I chose biology for all the things it can teach me, and also all the different career opportunities it provides. All right, number 8. Tell us about a talent and or strength that you have that could influence positively our students. So I think one of the most important talents or strengths that I have that could apply in this position would be my my patience and my patience and getting along with kids and teens in general. Just I seem to be pretty comfortable with being around those who are kind of on the younger side of the spectrum. So I like to, as well as well as being able to lead them. I like to have some fun with them as well, and I think they would appreciate that. And also, I as I kind of explained with biology, I like to do basically a good thorough job in any responsibility I have, basically. And so as part of that, I want to make sure that kids feel they that they can have, like, I can provide them a full understanding, and they can develop more confidence in what they're doing in the program, basically. And as well, and as well as the U.S. in general. Number 9, our students come to the U.S. very excited to meet their mentors. They will see their mentors as a role model. Do you feel comfortable with being a role model? And like with the question about being a leader, even though I might not uh, I might not always see myself as like the best role model, was like the best at best at just like everything. I do try my best to be a good one to those who are under anyone who's under my care, or anyone who looks up to me, and of course that's most likely going to be kids and teens that I come in contact with, and and especially I want to model for them in terms of basically acting honestly and persevering in whatever goals they have, and to and to and to try, and basically in while they're persevering, they should try to not just not give up, but also like try to find like other solutions for any problems that are in their way. Um, and in general, I'd like to model for students those kind of attributes, those kind of positive attributes would be that would be useful and applicable not just in the U.S. school system, but also just life in general. And number 10, lastly, if we ask your best friend to say 3 things about you, what would she, or he say? So, from what I've heard from my friends, what I've most often heard from them is that number 1, I tend to be pretty generous, and that basically translates to me being more like friendly and accepting of other people. I don't really like to reject people just solely based on like first impressions or judgments or anything like that. So I so I so that's why I think that label of being generous does tend to fit me more often than not. And number 2, another thing they would say is that I tend to be very responsible and reliable. So as I explained before, I really like to do a thorough job of any responsibility that is given to me. I don't like I don't like being lazy. If people are, especially if there's people like depending on me to do a good job on something, then like why should I let them down? And so I've also have a reputation as being kind of a perfectionist, but I mean I guess that's pretty common with all the high standards that are around. But yeah, that's something that's been a definition of me basically my whole life. Um, even when I was really young. Um, and number three, and the last thing would be that people would say that I'm pretty open and honest. So so I like to communicate just my honest thoughts about something and like everything, and that means like every my personal opinion and also like everything that I've heard about a certain subject, and so I like to know everything as much as I can about a certain subject so that I can form a pretty well based opinion about it. And but I'm also open to talking with others about what they think about a certain subject, and in order for us to have a proper conversation about it, I think it's most appropriate to just be honest about what I think about something. I mean, I mean, of course, I try not to be like offensive about it, but yeah, I if anyone wants to know like what I think about something, and if I know something more about a certain subject, then I'd be happy to share my thoughts with them. All right, so I hope that tells you everything that you need to know about me, and thank you for this opportunity.